bonsoir à toutes sur mon qui a sur radio avec sur Facebook avec ou slash Facebook avec Caribbean Hits FM. C'est côté nous là. You are on Facebook on Caribbean Hits FM. It's a simulcast, so you're also on 92.1 in the north and 91.1 in the south. This is where we are. This is Palay Fwanchman tonight with Ras Ipa. And tonight, it's not an easy night for me, to tell you the truth. I'm a bit sad about what is going on in our country. It's so sad that we have about 54 homicides. 54 homicides. I mean, this is not a joking thing. To know that a small country like St. Lucia, where most small countries, as I've said before, are so, so interrelated with each other. Everyone is kind of a family, a friend, someone you know, some acquaintance, someone who's a friend of your family, a friend of your friend, a friend of your girlfriend, a relatives of your wife, relatives of your family, cousins of your cousins that are not your cousins, brother of your brother who's not your brother, or sister of your sister who's not your sister, and so on and so forth. We are so, neatly, I would want to say sometimes, related to each other, that it's almost unbelievable to know that we are so deeply divided in terms of criminal activities that are taking place in the country, in terms of the politics of the country. Could you imagine? A small country like St. Lucia, UWP, and SLP. It's like, our politics is so divisive. It is so violent sometimes, I want to say, in terms of violence implicit, and so violent sometimes in terms of the rhetoric that is spewed out of the mouth of some political, political leaders or people in political positions in the society, so to speak. And that is where I want to go tonight, because of all of that, we may not even know that somehow we may be promoting violence in the country. We may be saying things we ought not to be saying. We sometimes say we ought not to be saying things like these things, like as we are saying. And what we are saying is because it's looked bad on us in the country generally, because our country is so permeated with guns and guns and ammunitions. Just recently we heard how, they just got a refrigerator coming from abroad. And it came out on the news. And it's coming from abroad. And, I saw it on Facebook, and it was on some kind of news, like either Look News or something, that a refrigerator came from abroad to someone. And they found drugs and guns in that refrigerator. And it was sent to someone in the name of someone who's a nurse, or, well, should I say, someone who works in the health sector, whose father or relative, or they have some relative or someone who's in relation with them, in either being their father or something. I'm not sure. Let's be fair. In the St. Lucia Police Force. This is what I got to say. This is dangerous for us in a small country with 100 and something. Y'all always say 100 and something. Y'all are lying. Some of y'all are lying to me. 180,000, 190,000. Sooner or later you will say 200,000. And that's not true. Based on what the children people are having nowadays, I have some sisters. My mother had 7 of us. In all, she had 9 children. She had some miscarriage. So that means that she had 9. None of my sisters have 4 children. One of my sisters have one child. The other have two. None of them have 3 children. Well, my brother, the only one who managed to have, I think, 4 children. I managed to have 5. Well, 4.5. Won't you think that's the right thing to say? 4.5. But it's the point that I'm trying to make is that secondary schools have closed. They have schools that have been closed because lack of students in the school. That means to say people are not having children as they used to have before. So the point is, the whole thing about population, lowering the population control and lowering the growth in terms of population actually worked in terms of family planning, having the whole question of contraceptives and so on and so forth. You all know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. But the point is, a small island like St. Lucia, coming from the Bahamas, Cayman Islands, the Caribbean, the Eastern Caribbean. St. Lucia is the only country in all these small islands grouping, that most of them have less than 100,000 people. We managed to have 100 and something thousand. We're not sure how much now because the census is taking place. That has 74 murders last year, 74 homicides last year, 74. And the report said, coming out in 2022, that we are in league, we are grouped. St. Lucia is grouped with Jamaica and Trinidad. Could you imagine that? And I also think that they are not doing it properly because they are not aware of the proper, in terms of the statistics, in terms of political, the population of St. Lucia. I don't think they're doing it right. Because if you say St. Lucia have 180,000, you're not doing it right. So the point is, St. Lucia in an area where we are in the same league with Jamaica, where we have 40 murders per 100,000. Excuse me a bit, excuse me. You have 40 murders per 100,000. And we keep counting. In 4 days, we had 4 murders. Could you be able to tell me what it would be in terms of projection? Let's say you was doing a projection thing and you wanted to project based on what we have from the last 4 days in St. Lucia. And in the last 4 days are 4 murders. If you wanted to project what may happen in the next 60 days in St. Lucia, the next 60 odd days in St. Lucia, because today is the 18th of October. And then 18th of October means we have something like, let's be fair, we have something like 12 days or so for the end of the month. So you have another 60 plus 12 would put you in something like 72 to 73 days before the year end. How many people you think that may be murdered between now and then? How many people you think? Are we looking at a figure that we have never heard of before in St. Lucia? This is heart-wrenching. This is sad for the families that have to grieve on both sides, I must say. Both on the side of those who died and the side of those who kill who they kill. If the police ever catch them, if the police ever apprehend them or bring them to some justice or some level of justice in the society. It saddens me, and sometimes I want to cry. I'm so happy that they arrested some people in the murder of the brother up in La Torque, the 3 people that was murdered in La Torque. And one of them didn't have to be killed. But maybe because he was there and, you know, they normally call him the funeral guy. He always go to funerals and so on and so forth. I know I grew up with these people, so I know them well. I know all of them very well. Apart from the lady, I don't know her that well. But the 2 guys, the 2 guys they killed, I know them very well. We grew up together, and it saddens me to know what happened. And this is what I really want to highlight tonight. And then there are other things I want to highlight, but I also want to say something tonight before I bring in my 2 clips I have there. These 2 clips is going to talk about what I'm going to talk about tonight. But I just want to say something about what took place in the Vendors Arcade today. Today at the Vendors Arcade, we had the banks of St. Lucia in collaboration with, let me try to see if I could see where in collaboration with what, you know, because I want to be fair. I want to say the right things all the time. And I want to say in collaboration with them, with what? In collaboration with National Competitiveness and Productive. Let me get it right. The National Competitiveness and Productivity Council. The National Productiveness and Productivity Council, they are doing what you call the Productivity Awareness Week this week, and as a result they decided to be at the Vendors Arcade. And at the Vendors Arcade was the emergence, the banks emerged there at the Vendors Arcade, the banks of St. Lucia, the CIBC, First Caribbean Bank, First National Bank, the Bank of St. Lucia, and the there was another bank in the Republic Bank of St. Lucia. They were there at the Vendors Arcade, and that was phenomenal. To tell you the truth, I couldn't really be more happier than ever time in my life as the president of the Vendors Association. It was a moment that I really appreciated. Excuse me, a bit. I appreciate it. Because you know why? We want to bring in what you call the digital economic, or the digital global economy, which is emerging in the world today, to deal with all different type of digital currency situation. And there we had the ECCB there as well, and they too talk about the whole question of debanking and so on, which is about, you know, dealing with a special kind of currency, debanking and so on, where you would be able to deal with the ECCB currency, Eastern Caribbean currency, in a way where you could relate to it either in your phone, or there is a machine, a small machine, very small, very tiny, about that size, not that big, and that you can relate to it in terms of banking. The people who are coming from the cruise ships, who are the people most vendors are depending on, especially at the Vendors Arcade, the craft market, the provision market, and other markets, to support them and come and purchase goods from them, and they're depending on them, and some of them are getting some bad reviews on St. Lucia, and the reviews are about streets that they must avoid. And the streets, some streets they avoid must be like Brogley Street and Chisel Street and Chaussee Road and Jean-Baptiste Street, and so on. They are telling them streets that they must avoid in St. Lucia. And as a result, they don't want to traverse or travel in St. Lucia with currency, dollars, cash. So they walk in with plastic. So there is a situation where we are going to get involved now in how to deal with them and to be able to accommodate them and to be able to cash in the digital currency situation. That was a phenomenal thing. And Glenn Simon, I want to say thank you very much. The people in that department there, the whole question of the collaboration with the banks and so on, it's really phenomenal. And I must say, thank you guys for that. I appreciate that. It's a legacy program. It's a legacy project for me. And I appreciate it. We spoke about it in our biennial general meeting, and we embrace it as what you call, what we refer to as embracing the digital global economy, and it has come to reality. And I'm appreciating that a lot. Thank you very much for that, and thank you very much for the time. Don't forget, we are on here on Caribbean Hits FM. It's a simulcast also on 92.1 FM in the south, in the north, and 91.1 FM in the south. We are also on Caribbean Hits FM /Facebook, and your host is Peter Ras Ipa Isaac. The number you could call us on if you want to call, as all my viewers are telling me, most of them are saying to me, Ipa, I'm not calling, but I'm watching you. Make sure you show that you're watching. Some of you, you all like the show, you all appreciate the show, you all are trying to repeat the show on your shows, but you all doesn't show that you all are following the show. Please do that, because sometimes it's the simplest thing you could do. Just show that you're on, show you watching, show you are there, make a comment, say something, whether you are on the the UWP platform or whatever platform you are on, United Pack or Divided Pack, it doesn't matter, whatever pack you on, let us know that you're following us. Give us the benefit of the doubt to be able to understand. Give us the kudos, the kudos that we need from you to say you are watching us as well, and we appreciate that too. So 489-4781 is the number to call. Most of the time I think you need to put the 1758, and when you put in this thing on your phone, put 1758, and so you can call us here so we can talk to you about what's going on, what is happening, because we deal with current issues, current affairs. I heard there was some shooting in what's that place name? Could I remember the place name? I wonder if someone could remind me. A place where they have a lot of butchers there, somewhere in around Mac. There was some shooting in Mac. Now I don't know if there was any fatality in the shooting in Mac, but there was a shooting there. There was also a killing in Forestier. You all heard about it. There was a shooting, close to the Busenchu cricket ground. A guy was killed. The lady was set free. Some people are saying to me, I wonder if they're talking the truth. I'm not sure if you all are talking the truth. Some people are saying you never know, the lady escaped freely. And you all are insinuating, suggesting, making comments as if the lady involved and all them things there. Do you know that she's involved? You all don't know that, even if you all want to say that. But it's really sad for the family, and my condolences. I want to tell you all my condolences with the bereaved families in that kind of circumstance and situation. It's really hurting me. It's hurting me really hard. Okay, so now what we are going to do now is to ensure that you know that we are here, we are on, we are with you. Our number is 489-4781. If you want to call, you can call. Call through WhatsApp. Make sure you put 1758 and then the 489 and the 4781 as well. This is your host, Ras Ipa. With any apology, I'm with you here tonight. What we are going to do now, we are going to put on our 2 clips. We're going to play the 2 clips for you, one after the other. And these 2 clips, we are going to come and comment on them and talk about them based on what's going on in our country, in St. Lucia today.
on the part of Labour Party supporters. Fight back. Fight fire with fire. You see me right now? I taking them on head on now. No more Mr. Nice Guy. You want to interfere with me? And I keep telling you, no, I don't care. When I'm fighting, if my opponent is a dwarf or a giant, I'm fighting with all the ammunition at my disposal. All. I ain't saying, well, because it's a dwarf, let me use a catapult. And because it's a giant, I'm going to use a bazooka. Dwarf to giant, getting bazooka. Because you do not deal with... You ever have Baygon spraying, you spraying Baygon to knock out mosquitoes? No. Get rid of them completely. Move the mosquitoes. Irritate. So the time for the... But that kind of reticence on the part of Labour Party supporters. Fight back. Fight fire with fire. You see me right now? I taking them on head on now. No more Mr. Nice Guy. You want to interfere with me? And I keep telling you, no, I don't care. When I'm fighting, if my opponent is a dwarf or a giant, I'm fighting with all the ammunition at my disposal. All. I ain't saying, well, because it's a dwarf, let me use a catapult. And because it's a giant, I'm going to use a bazooka. Dwarf to giant, getting bazooka. Because you do not deal with... You ever have Baygon spraying, you spraying Baygon to knock out mosquitoes? No. Get rid of them completely. Move the mosquitoes, the irritants. So the time for the gloves are over.
Culture and Creative Industries Minister Dr. Ernest Hilaire insists that a serious review of the guidelines for event hosting in St. Lucia must ensue following media portraying a hired security guard carrying an open carry weapon on stage during the weekend performance of dancehall sensation Skilly Bang at Onyx went viral on social media.
So therefore you can imagine how I would have felt, certainly as a Minister for Creative Industries and Culture, to see photos of an individual on stage with open carry firearm. And certainly not an ordinary firearm at that. I know what I saw on stage. I know the pictures that people overseas saw and sent back to St. Lucia. And we need to ask some real serious questions. As far as I knew, the police force took a position that they were not approving the show because the individual in question is someone who has been involved in music, singing, promoting music that glorifies crime and gun violence. And I know because I was in discussion with the police force. Because the promoters spoke to me. And the police were very clear that they were not going to approve it on grounds of national security and event security. Which means they were seeing it as a threat to the fight against gun crime and as a threat to the event itself because they were not satisfied event security was fully in place. And that was 4:30 on Friday.
The Culture Minister says the optics has a detrimental impact on the St. Lucian product and steps will be taken to avoid similar incidents.
So after that decision was taken, somebody approved for the event to go ahead. We need to know who is that somebody and under what circumstances they approve it. Because if at 4:30, the person in the police force who wrote the letter and informing the promoters that it is not approved, who turned over that decision and why, under what circumstances, what assurances were given to that individual to make that decision. And then now we have to ask, if somebody overturned a decision, was the person misled? I think it is very clear to establish whether that person sings songs that glorify crime and glorify gun violence. It's very clear to establish that. And certainly the promoter claimed that person was not going to sing any songs that promote gun violence or whatnot. Although the police was clear, once somebody is involved in singing those songs and promoting those songs, that person will not be allowed to perform in St. Lucia.
After receiving criticism from the general public over a hired security guard revealing an open carry weapon on stage, Onyx organizers issued the following statement. Quote, "We take all public concerns seriously and wish to highlight that all safety precautions to protect performers and patrons were in full effect. All our security personnel were members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Their officers are licensed and authorized to provide armed services. While we made no demands for specialized security services, we trusted that our contractors would exercise the best judgment based on their assessment of the concert's requirements and their professional experience. It must, however, be noted that the armed officer's appearance on stage was only for a brief moment, and that he did not trail the artist throughout his performance, as organizers and security officials quickly moved to rectify the situation. Despite that, we do recognize that the on-stage optics may have given the wider public a false impression of the event and what we stand for. As such, we wish to apologize for causing any offense to the public. This was by no means intentional." Unquote. Meanwhile, Dr. Hilaire has promised to clamp down on events that feature acts that glorify violence. For the DBS News World, Jason Darius reporting.
Yeah. Well, this is a really messy situation for all of us in St. Lucia. This is something that, you need to ask a number of questions. The questions are, insurmountable questions. And when I say insurmountable, I really mean it. The minister is saying that by 4:30 on Friday, there was a decision by the police, and he was at the meeting, that the show should not have gone on. The minister is saying that. By 4:30 on Friday, the show should not have gone on, and the show was not approved by 4:30 on Friday. But come Sunday, the show happened. And, skillibang, those who live in Jamaica could say skillibang easily. Skillibang. This is something that is in a Jamaican twang, a Jamaican way of saying things, skillibang. Skillibang, bang, bang, skillibang, bye, bye, bye. These are some of the things you can say if you're accustomed to what is Jamaican. Skillibang has caused a number of things to happen in Jamaica. There was also a particular individual who has come out strongly, who was a very popular guy in Jamaica, to ban these type of lyrics that is creating some kind of inciting violence in the country, in Jamaica. Jamaica is a place where it's very well known in terms of gun violence in the country. And I was living in Jamaica sometime. I could tell you that. I wake up every morning hearing about who was killed, who was brought at the hospital on the way to hospital, or at the arrival at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital or whatever, was pronounced dead or on arrival, and QEH and all them things there. But the reality about it is, who gave this person, Skillibang, a work permit to come into St. Lucia in the first place? Who approved the work permit if it's not the government of St. Lucia? Who can approve a work permit? Not the government of St. Lucia, not the department of the work permit department or whatever, Department of Labor that is in charge of the work permit. Are they not the one responsible for giving work permit? So you give a work permit to someone who's professing, who is promoting gun violence, who lyrics is promoting and a professing gun violence in his own country of Jamaica, that has caused a big uproar in Jamaica, and it's coming to St. Lucia now on some kind of show. My provision, what's the name of the show again? The people who promoting the show? Who's promoting the show? I can't remember the name of the people promoting the show, but we're going to get to that. So they're promoting that show. And they're promoting the show. The police didn't approve of the show. Now, I can remember the time of Black Lives Matter when I was involved. And the police didn't approve of Black Lives Matters. And immediately, Black Lives Matters wasn't given permission to protest in support, in solidarity with the Black Floyd situation at the time in America. We were not a part of the Black Lives Matter movements as such, but we were in solidarity with the whole question of what happened to Black Floyd. George Floyd, sorry, it's Floyd, and other blacks who experienced something similar to what George Floyd experienced. And we were not given permission here in St. Lucia to do that by the police. The police didn't approve, didn't permit the match, a peaceful match, and we went anyway and had the match. But today, some kind of show, dance hall show, by some group in St. Lucia, that the police didn't want to give any approval. The minister was at the meeting with the police, did not approve the meeting, but it happened anyhow. So how it happened? Mr. PRO, Mr. Public Relation Officer, Mr. Events Officer, talking about events that are supposed to happen all in next year, July. A man who does talk about events as if he's the Public Relation Officer for events in St. Lucia, the Minister Ernest Hilaire. All of a sudden, something happened right under your nose and you don't know. Someone approved something police didn't want to approve, and they approve it, and you are the Minister of Events Management, and the cultural activities and all kind of things that dealing with, the performing arts and other things like that. You are the minister responsible, and you don't know who overturned the decision or who caused the decisions to be overturned. Who is the person that's bigger than you that caused these things to happen? There is a minister that is bigger than you. There is someone who's bigger than you, Hilaire, in St. Lucia. Bigger than you and bigger than Philip J. Pierre. I believe so. I probably may think I know who. I can't say who now, even if I think I know who. But there must be someone who's bigger than all of you, bigger than the police, bigger than all of you ministers who are bigger than them, in the name of being bigger people in society in St. Lucia, that got this show to go on. And the worst thing about it is that they had a gun on show. They had a gun on stage. And the gun, it was declared as if it was a legal licensed firearm. Excuse me. Hello, I'm not laughing. This is not a laughing situation. A place like St. Lucia that's permeated with guns, infested with guns all over the place. Guns are coming in refrigerators and in gas stoves and in all kind of things. Guns are coming in. Guns are coming in any way they could come, illegal and legal and other means, other ways. They are coming in St. Lucia anyhow. We are unable to deal with that. The Minister of National Security, who's the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, is unable to deal with that. The Minister of Home Affairs, who's Virginia Albert Poyot, is unable to deal with that as well. She's been talking and talking and talking. And the situation in the prison, she's unable to deal with that. And also the Minister of National Security is unable to deal with the situation in prison where people are beating people. And they imagine in prison have live videos. I mean, could you imagine that? In the prison, have live videos they're showing you now. that comes out on social media, live videos where fellas are beating up a guy, beating him all in his head, and they come out with laceration and blood is spewing out here and there. Could you imagine that in St. Lucia? In our little country. There is no director of prison right now. So one guy is in charge. He's not a director, not the acting director neither. What is he? I don't know. Where are we in this country? I understood that prisoners are actually in charge of their own self in prison. You all didn't know that? You all didn't hear that? You all listen to me again. Prisoners are the ones who are responsible for opening the cell for them to get out and close the cell for them to be in. That's happening. It happened under Hilary Herman. And really Herman is not there now. Could you imagine what is going on there now? In St. Lucia. And you all are surprised of our homicide rate in St. Lucia. You all are surprised that if I say St. Lucia is one of the most dangerous countries in the world. You all are surprised if I say St. Lucia homicide rate is equal to any other country in the world where the homicide rate is dangerous. For example, Jamaica. But Jamaica has 2.5 million people. Like Trinidad, for example, which has I'm not sure, 1.2 or if it's 1.3 million people you have in Trinidad and Tobago. St. Lucia, you know what our population is? We just talking sometimes and say it's 180,000. It's not a no 180,000. People doesn't have the children that we used to have before. Schools were closed, secondary schools, because we didn't have enough students to fill in these schools, so we had to close them. People not having many children they used to have before. So our population is very low now, especially with the whole question of population control and all these things by international agencies and organizations in the world. Okay? So, where are we now? So, Mr. Minister, the question is, who is in charge? Not you. Who's in charge? Not the Prime Minister. So, who decide that this concert should go ahead and go along, irrespective? Who gave the work permit to Mr. Skillibang, bang, 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 Skillibang. He's a guy who loved to portray guns. Someone was paid to put in some guns and come out on stage with guns in white and in gang. They were in white and they have guns and the most brutal weapon. And the minister said, you know, one of the most dangerous weapons. Mr. Minister, dangerous weapons are coming into St. Lucia all the time. What have you done to prevent these weapons from coming in the country, in a small island like St. Lucia? No other island in the Caribbean have the murder rate we have. No island in the Caribbean has the kind of guns where we have here. No matter what they say about St. Kitts or Antigua or any of these places, or, excuse me, even Barbados, we have more guns than them. What are you doing about it, Mr. Minister? More than the talk you're talking. First time I hear you talking tough. Could you imagine Healer talking tough about crime? I don't know. And I'm also agreeing with you with some of the things that you have said, Mr. Minister. You may not like what I'm saying or what I've said before, but I'm so agreeing with you. You're correct that this is things not supposed to happen in St. Lucia. A country that is permeated with guns, crimes, killings, murders. People have been killed and they're there with their girlfriend in a car and they kill them, but they didn't kill the girlfriend. That means that's an execution kind of style homicide. Why they didn't kill the lady? People are speculating about that. People have been charred, burned and killed and charred. Another things that have happened in St. Lucia. Up to now, we have a number of unresolved cases of homicides and crime and murders and so on that has not been solved. St. Lucia could easily become one of the most unresolved. I just understood the lady something, shit, Angela Misberry, Angela something. She passed away just recently, and she used to act in something about mystery murders, murder she wrote, or mystery, some mystery murder thing. She used to act in Angela something. She passed away. I think she was an English lady, I'm not sure. She passed away recently, and she was dealing with a lot of things, dealing with murders and mystery murders and so on. St. Lucia, she should have done something on St. Lucia. She should have done something on St. Lucia, you know, and I don't know, but I wish I could get to that lady. Mystery Murders, Murder She Wrote. I don't know who's this lady. Okay, I think it's Murder She Wrote. She used to be involved in a series they call Murder She Wrote, mystery writer and amateur detective Jacinta Fletcher. And I think she was a middle-aged widow and criminal declined person. Let me see if I could find the name they used to call her. They had a name calling her, Angela something. I'm trying to get that there because I need to get it. And Murder She Wrote, and okay, I'm not getting her full name there, but she used to act in some movies called Murder She Wrote. Maybe we need to have a series here about, you know, mystery murders and a number of murders that have happened. Let's see. Murder She Wrote, the name of the lady, Angela something? Angela Lansbury. Angela Lansbury, she used to act in movies, in some movies they call Murder She Wrote. We need to have a series of that here in St. Lucia about these murders. Now, the other thing we have with the Speaker of the House, which is Claudius Francis. And Claudius Francis, I just really want to say to you that I find you a bit petty, and some people tell me that I shouldn't take you on, and I'm also agreeing with them because I don't think I should be doing any tit for tat with people, especially people like you. Maybe I should just ignore some things about you, and maybe it would be better. But sometimes, you know, I'm asked by some of my followers, some of my viewers, some people that, you know, you don't take that simple, and sometimes you don't want to just take it simple. But you said you stayed in your office, at your parliament office, and then you overheard me saying something on Pena Street. I was saying that you were supposed to be fired and you should be fired, you could be fired, and so on, and you were saying you cannot be fired. And my point is, I think that we need to change our constitution. We need to have with the constitutional reform that Miss Dovey, Susie Dovey mentioned, and that we should, I think it's supposed to deal with that too. We can have no one like a Speaker of the House or anyone who's in Parliament, parliamentarians or whatever, that we cannot recall them or they cannot be fired easily, and a whole heap of people that support them have to, you know, get involved in getting rid and getting fired or getting them fired. I think it's just an exercise of futility. I don't support that, honestly. I think people who are hired should be able to be fired. That's all I could say. Because you, Claudius Francis, you were not employed by the government, by the people of St. Lucia. You were employed by a government that was elected by the people of St. Lucia. And I think because of that, I think people of St. Lucia could say they don't want you there anymore and you should be fired. That's my opinion. And I'm just saying, I don't want anyone, DDP or the whatever, PPP or whatever you may be, okay, Speaker of the House or President of the Senate or in any position you are in, Governor General, Prime Minister or whatever. I don't think that you're supposed to be immune from being fired if you're not doing your job properly. If you find yourself wanting in the job that you're doing, you're supposed to be able to be fired. That's my opinion. Now, you may not agree with me, and that's not the point I'm here to argue about, because people will disagree with me. In your case, Claudius Francis, I also think that talking about bazooka, going after people in this kind of political rhetoric, in a politically charged society, with violently charged society, I think it was just unfortunate that you could make these type of statements and get away with it. I think in other countries in the world, people make these type of statements. They are either asked to account, to resign, or being fired by their bosses. That's all I'm going to say about this thing. And that's all I want to say to you, Claudius Francis. You mentioned my name several times before. You said one time that I spoke to you somewhere in the Constitution Park, not too far away from the same area you mentioned, that you heard me from your office, which is the Pena Street area and the Constitution Park area. They are not too far apart from each other in terms of the distance. They're not, I don't think it's 50 yards away from each other. But the point I'm making is that you said how you spoke to me, you jumped me, you said hello to me, I said hello to you, and then you said afterwards, I said to someone that you are a jackass or something like that. I'm not sure, but I can't really remember exactly the exact word you said at the time. And when I called you on your show to tell you about how you could, and then you said to me you will come and talk to me at the Vendors Arcade, and someone I know personally who was working at the fire service, the person called you and told you about how you said what you said on your show, and you said what you said, and you didn't want to discuss it with me on the same show. You said you tell the person, well, yeah, I'll talk to Ipa, you know Ipa well, you'll talk to him. And I remember I met you somewhere playing draft in the CDC. There was a place you used to be there, playing your draft and so on. And then I said to you, when you'll come and talk to me, you said you'll come and talk to me. And you haven't said anything to me up to this present day. It's okay, Claudius Francis. I'm not really trying to compete with you. The things that you would do, I will not do. Some things I know, there are things I know I will never do. I will never park my vehicle nowhere near any place or lady's house as if I'm pretending to have a relationship with them. I will not do that. I will never do something like that. Okay, I am surviving. I'm in the Vendors Arcade. I'm trying my best to sell a few things to sell. I'm trying to sell a few things to the tourists and to other people to make to eke out a little dollar here to survive and to sustain myself, to pay my bills, to pay city council. Sometimes I can't even pay them. I must agree with that. I can't even pay them sometimes. It's tough, it's rough, it's really tough, especially tourism and so on. The system is 6 months in, 6 months out. 6 months you have a season and the other 6 months is the off season, so you have to barely scrun to make a living and so on. That's fair. These are some of the things I experience as a person. The other thing with me is that if I want to kill myself, I'm not going to take 2 little tablets or drink any kind of Clorox. I know there is Gramazole. I'll just drink a glass of Gramazole, close my eyes and swallow Gramazole and just die. I don't give a shit with that. And excuse my language for saying shit on TV tonight or on my show tonight, but I don't give a damn about these things. I do these things. If I want to do these things, I'll do it. I don't have to do nothing else for me to gain money. I don't know nothing to do. I can't burn people's vehicle to get money. I cannot do none of the outlaw things for me to get money. I only want to do things. And the other thing with me, in terms of ladies, women getting involved, I have people that just clinch to me. They like me, they love me, or whatever. I might not be the most handsome guy. Y'all could look at me and see. I may not be the most handsome, with a nice long nose coming out from my you know, coming from my forehead down here and so on. I have an African kind of build. I probably feel I'm handsome. I think I'm handsome. But Claudius, I don't want to be in a war with you. I remember sometime just recently you were in some problems where you asked your brothers to assist you because you thought someone was threatening your life. People have not threatened my life, but I've always said that I have nothing to fear. I have died, I have probably been resuscitated about 3 times in my life. So the next one, I don't know what it's going to be like. That's me. So basically, I have a show here tonight. This is Palay Fwanchman, and this is the country that we're in. We heard recently that the government is complaining that they doesn't borrow money, but they just borrow $350 million, which is more money than the money we need to borrow from the Taiwanese, the Exim Bank from the Taiwanese to repair or to fix or to build a new airport for St. Lucia. And imagine the Dominicans who have a tourism product that is nothing near ours is building an airport that costs $1 billion, you see. And we in St. Lucia, to me, if we are building an airport, I think we should build one that costs $2-3 billion more than Dominica, because we have a tourism product that's bigger than theirs. The only thing that we don't have that's bigger than theirs is the crime situation. Our crime situation is really bad here. It's getting worse here. And with Claudius, you're talking about a bazooka. It's a dangerous weapon. I don't think you have a toy. I'm not even sure, but they said that you have a licensed gun. But do you have a bazooka? Can you use a bazooka, Claudius? A bazooka is, you know, a kind of anti-tank weapon, you know. Anti-tank missile launcher or rocket launcher. I think it's a rocket launcher. Anti-tank rocket launcher. Do you think you could have one in your possession? People could think that that is what you say you have, and whether the person is a dwarf or whether they're a giant, you're not going to lose a catapult. You know, the catapult we use to fire after bullets and so on, what normally people call slingshots and things. That's not what you're going to use on whether an abozo or dwarf or giant. You're going to use your bazooka. Bazooka. But it's not very nice language to use. That's all I want to say. Because you, as the Speaker of the House of Assembly in St. Lucia, the Speaker of the House, you should not use this type of terms. That's all I want to say. And again, you know, it's so bad. I wonder if the whole thing about the privilege committee is going to be the stepping stone for the future. That we're going to use that now to make sure that people in Parliament stop using inflammatory language in Parliament against each other. That's what I'm saying. Is that the beginning of it? And if that is it, the beginning of it, I'm happy, because you know what? I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and he was saying, you know, while you know we vex about how this thing is happening, and we think because it's happening to Alan Shastney, people vex and so on. But maybe it's the right thing to do. I remember Alan Shastney had made Andy Daniel. He embarrassed Andy Daniel several times when Andy Daniel was Speaker of the House. Several times Andy Daniel asked him to take back his word. He says he's not taking back his word. At one time he said that Alan Shastney said that the opposition have lost their voice to speak because they lost the election, so they have no voice to speak. Could you imagine they had 6 people in the House at the time? The Labour Party had 6 people in the House at the time, and Shastney was saying that. And if, you know, today, if the guys have 15 people and you only have 2, do you think you really have a voice to talk? Again, you know, this is politics, and this is where we're not supposed to go in our country. This is not how it's supposed to be done in the country. You know, we have a parliamentary system with people, whether you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 6, you have a voice to speak on behalf of the people of the country. That's why it's important to have a parliamentary democracy, because the parliamentary democracy is about how when you must have opposite side, a side that could talk on behalf of the other side, because the government will have something to do, but the other side could see that a way differently, and that they have a voice to say this is not how they think it should go, or they think it can be done better, and so on and so forth. This is what democracy is all about. And I think once we start to think that people don't have a right to have a different opinion, a different voice here, and parliament is about parler. I think it derived from a French word named parler, and which means that's how it came about in terms of parliament. Parler, talk about the issues that affect people in the country, in the society, in the community, in the trenches, in the roads and the roadsides and other things of that sort. I think that's what we're supposed to be understanding in terms of what parliament is all about. So basically, if the privilege committee is something about the beginning of the image. I remember one time when Guy Joseph was saying endless thing about Kenny Anthony, and Kenny Anthony was asking him, oh well, say it out there, you know, say it out there. When you leave parliament, go and say it out there, and you would find out. It's as if you had a special privilege to say certain things in parliament that you couldn't say out on the street, in the castries, or just go from parliament and say it to the media, and then Wednesday the minister would head, he could take you to court and so on. But when you said it in parliament, there was some kind of immunity, automatic immunity. So what the privilege committee is saying now, which is the first time we actually are delving in this community, this privilege committee thing, maybe that's what it's signaled to us. It's signaling that this is the end of saying what you want in parliament, talking any kind of crap you want, any kind of thing you want to throw at people, throw any kind of aspersion and dirty remarks, and you know, tell people whatever you think you would tell them to embarrass them and their family and so on in parliament. Maybe it's the end of that. I remember Healer was saying things, and afterwards he take the word back, but the point is he have already made it, and so on and so forth. Let us hope that this is the end of this thing, because we have seen this played out on both sides, both on the government side, on the opposition side, on both sides. So both sides have been in government in several different occasions in the past, present, and I'm sure it's going to happen in the future. Another side will be in government soon. But so let's hope maybe the privilege committee thing will be something that we'll be able to use frequently and more regularly on both sides. The numbers are there, so if you want to call, you could call us and talk to us and tell us something about what you think about what we have said tonight. You can call us on 489-4781. I'm hoping that we are on Facebook as we always want to be, because I like to know when my followers are following me on Facebook. And excuse me, I'm just going to try to see where we are here in terms of the Facebook, whether we are live, because sometimes they're really doing things to sabotage us, and sometimes we doesn't be on Facebook as we just want to be. So I think we are there and we are live there, and so far we have had, you know, we are going through. People are listening. People are listening to us on Caribbean Hits FM, and we are giving thanks for that. So basically, I am very much appreciative of what is happening here tonight. We can open the lines. The lines, I think, are open. I'm not sure if people want to call. What I've been hearing, and you could also listen to us on 92.1 FM. 92.1 FM. That's on radio. 92.1 FM, and that's in the north. In the south, you will listen to us on 91.1. Ça veut dire que ça coûte nous à ce 92.1. Ça c'est un nord du pays, avec 91.1 à sud du pays. Ça coûte nous là, puisque nous à sur radio aussi, comme nous à sur Facebook, nous à sur Facebook. Regardez-moi, c'est où ça dit livre de fichiers, c'est ça. De bout, mais où ça couille nous là, avec l'autre bail là où ça fait, où ça garder nous. You can have a look at us, où ça garder nous ici là, où veiller même quand on a veiller fort, où ça veille nous à sur Caribbean Hits FM, Caribbean Hits FM à Caribbean. Où ça garde nous là, Hits FM c'est /Facebook. So quoi, on est pour aller à la Facebook, you have to go on Facebook and you have to go on at the top here. You would see the area, you could go at the top here on Facebook, and then you tap on it. You will go to where it tells you search, and when you put the search, you put Caribbean Hits FM. When you put Caribbean Hits FM, you will get us here. Caribbean Hits FM have been doing a phenomenal job in terms of bringing, a lot of information on a number of activities that are going on in the country and a number of things that are happening in St. Lucia. But some people come, they said to me, Ipa, the season is open and they have not seen boats. Well, I think tomorrow is the 19th. You will see a boat tomorrow. I'm not sure if it's one boat, but there is a boat tomorrow. You will see some ships tomorrow in the harbor. And I think from tomorrow onwards to the end of the month, you will see some ships coming through the harbor. What we have heard from Stasper is that there will be a number of calls in Castries or in St. Lucia generally. They have said that they have given us some indication, they have given us some notice that there will be something like over 300 and odd number of calls on the island. It hasn't reached the not 300, not just 300, but it has not reached the 400 calls yet, but it may reach that level. And there will be calls also in Rodney Bay and calls in Soufrière. Some people are also asking, what about the lay-by of the morn? What is going to happen with the lay-by of the morn? That's something people are asking about. The other thing people are asking about is the vendors arcade and the craft market and these areas there. Maybe we could ask Mr. Nicky Cauldron and the mayor of Castries that probably we want to know if are you going to put the Wi-Fi there, because some of the services that we are trying to offer to people, and the service where we want to be able to have the vendors to access finance or the end of business transaction through a financial situation dealing with the digital technology or the digital finance. Some of them people say that they have to have the internet, and if we don't have internet in the arcade, we don't have Wi-Fi in the arcade, it will cause a problem. So we are going to write to CCC, the Vendors Association, write to the CCC, ask them, because these days they are not really responding to us as they should, but I think Mr. Nicky Cauldron have been responding to us, and we must say thank you to Mr. Nicky Cauldron. He provided us with some tables, and also the public address system that we did today in terms of the banking system forum that was at the Vendors Arcade today. The electricity was provided via the City Council. We have to give thanks for that. Mr. Nicky Cauldron provided us with the tables. Thank you very much again, Mr. Nicky Cauldron. And what we are saying is that the whole question of the Wi-Fi at the Vendors Arcade that was put in there some time ago, but I don't know if the whole mechanism that was put in there in terms of the Wi-Fi has been broken down one way or the other. So we are just asking that, good sense prevail, and that we put it back there so the vendors could benefit from some of the kind of transaction that will assist them to have money to pay City Council in terms of their rental fee and so on. I understood there are some vendors at the market, the Castro City Council have put some of them on notice of the lease agreement as well. Well, that lease agreement is something that we need to discuss, and we have not discussed it because there was a question where people are saying that sometimes it's the mode of payment. Some people, in the past, some agreement was put in place to pay per week, and yet still people who were paying per week. A number of arrears have been accumulated over the years for them. So, trying to force people to pay per month is going to cause even a greater problem in terms of paying and for them to accumulate arrears. So it is a good thing to be able to have a discussion with the vendors and to find out what is the best way forward in terms of how they can pay, the mode of payment they want to be involved in terms of whether they want to pay by the week, they want to pay fortnightly, they want to pay monthly, or if they can pay 3 weeks in advance, or 4 weeks in advance, or a week in advance, or maybe 6 months in advance, or maybe a month in advance. But I think all these things must be discussed, and sometimes just throwing these things down at people's throat, throwing it at them just like that, as of some kind of maybe I might use the word, I want to use a softer word, but I probably want to use a word where you're creating like you're above them and you are throwing things down at them, and it's not always the right way to deal with vendors. We have been in a situation where that has been happening to us for quite some time, and it's time for us to be able to be in a position where we can sit at a table and discuss things civilly, in a civil way, that who can afford to pay that way or pay this way or pay that way, and not put people in a position where because as we must agree that the season in terms of tourism season, the cruise ship season, is a 6-month thing. 6 months, and then 6 months of a season, and 6 months of a slowness, the off season. They refer to it as the off season. And people who are the laybys, what the month layby, it is said that it is in a very state of disrepair. And people were asking, is it going to be repaired before the season? The season has already opened in October to November and so on, and moving up to December, January, February, March, April. And after April, you don't have a season again. That's the reality. Now that we have no there's no COVID restriction, all these things have been erased, or things have been suspended by the Ministry of Health. The ferry service by that we have been having here has been discontinued. Mr. Hippolyte said that the Hippo ferry system, Mr. Hippolyte said that his ferry boat was vandalized by young people of cast trees. He's unable to have the big boats that used to have, or the big ferry boat that used to carry people to and from Point Seraphim. He doesn't have that anymore. He has a smaller boat. He's trying to see if SLASPA could assist him in getting a smaller boat to be licensed and to be authorized to run across the vendors arcade to the Point Seraphim and so on. That is to help vendors a lot, tremendously, I must say, tremendously. A tremendous help in that regard. And I must say, hats off to Mr. Hippolyte, hats off to you, sir. You have done a wonderful job in that regard. You came there today and you spoke to the banks and trying to get assistance to fix your big ferry boat system that you had, that you wanted to put in place, but you said you need something like maybe $50,000 to $60,000 to get it up and running. And we hope, we wish you all luck that this could happen, because this would be in the best interest of vendors as well, in terms of the ferry service, bringing people to and from. It's good. It really helps. It helped a lot, phenomenally, I must say. A lot for that. Let me just look at the time. Any calls? Any of you want to say hello, say hi, or anything you want to say here? I'm looking at the trumpet song production. Boom. What is that? When was that? I don't know. I'm trying to look at what people are saying. Let me see if I could read some of the things some of you are saying here under this this show tonight. So. Somebody said, Ipa, you are very diplomatic. I love it. Okay, that's good. Oh, yes. Remind them, Ipa, they choose to forget too fast. Somebody said they choose to forget too fast. That's what. There must be proof for everyone, said the morning. Was that moving forward? That's good. We're going republic. Was that supposed to mean republic is one step closer to communism? Somebody said going republic is closer to doing communism. What are we going republic? You mean the whole thing about Barbados going republic and independent from the British system, the British monarchy system? That's what some people are talking. Most of these Caribbean leaders are going republic because they want to keep borrowing from communist China. They want, they want democracy, and I don't understand that one there. Old Lewis is watching. Thank you very much, brother Old Lewis, for watching us tonight. We appreciate that very much. I don't know. The only thing I don't know if that's the answer to the questions that are affecting us now in terms of the crime. Going republic, not going republic, bringing the CCJ or not the CCJ. That's not what's going to help us. We seem to be talking about CCJ as if leaving the British system, and we're talking about our culture and getting out of the colonialism and and the British system of the Privy Council, and going to the CCJ is going to assist. I'm not sure because the CCJ has a lot of things where some of the judges they say are appointed by the politicians. They may put politicians there that will be able to assist them if they have cases there to pass or to pass judgment on their behalf. We don't know. That's something that's possible. It can happen. Oh yes, okay. Well, that's some of the situations that we're seeing there. And Earl Lewis, thank you very much for watching. A number of my friends are watching, but a number of you must continue watching. Some of you are piggybacking upon the show when it suits you, because it's almost like saying some of the things you are saying, but it doesn't really make it known that you are on the show, you are watching the show, and you are supporting the show. And this is something I took umbrage to, or I'm taking umbrage to. You call, or you don't have to call, but show that you're there, you're watching, you're on the show. Look at how Earl Lewis is saying she's watching, he's watching. That's a great thing. And I don't know, but some people say, Ipa, you're very diplomatic. I love it. I don't know what they mean by that. Could you tell me diplomatic in which instance, or in what way that you're saying that I'm very diplomatic? But the point is, a lot of things that are happening in St. Lucia, it's happening and we just remain quiet. We don't talk, some of us. We don't protest. What was happening to Haiti? A lot of people are complaining, but Haitian people stand up. They stand up for things. And the other thing I want to say to you all guys here is that St. Lucia is small, but we seems to be a very wicked country when we are very wicked to each other. We are related to each other, but yet still we are killing each other. It's like flies, just like that. Every time we have murder, 54 murders so far in this little small island like St. Lucia with less than 200,000 people, and we are just killing one another just like that. And what can I say about that? You know, employment is scarce in the country. You know, well, I just see them moving. People asking me what happened in Jabata Street. You all saw what happened in Jabata Street? Yeah, they're moving the people there. I think some of the ideas of Alan Chastney and Peterson Francis, someone who didn't like me, he thought I shouldn't be president of the Vendors Association for such a long time. He said, "I'm president, I should be moved." But he and Alan Chastney, they were working on some kind of project, which is about some, I think it's about some containers, and they got the containers from abroad. I don't know if it's some part in Europe, and they organize it into small business units, and so they are going to take out all these small shacks they had on the Jabata Street area there, and some of them that was adjacent to the what do you call it? The how do you call that building that used to be there, where they sell the local produce and local products and so on. I trying to remember what they call it, but anyway, a place where they used to sell local produce and so on. I can't remember the name. I can't remember the name there. Marketing board, I think. Yeah, marketing board. Where marketing board was there, those that were just into marketing board, they were actually itched upon the building. They were there, itched upon the building, marketing board, and they are building something for them in the car park on Jeremy Street. That's the car park where the police station and the fire station was before. I thought that that was the place they were preparing to put the vendors there, so that place would be occupied by how do you call the RCI, Royal Caribbean International. They would be occupying that area there to build the place there, and the area where this car park is now, they would set up something for the vendors there. There was a big project there, and then we went to the Grand Hotel as a Sandal Hotel, and so Stephenson King was in the Prime Minister at the time. Stephenson King, you remember that? I don't know if you could remember these things there. And there was some serious plans there to put some things there. And there was also a plan, I think, for a sewer situation to be somewhere around there, where they would stop the whole question of the sewer disposing in the harbor, and find a way to process it. I don't know what it was. There was something they do normally, where they deal with the sewer and process it, do something with it, and then turn it into something where it can be disposed somewhere. You could wear it, used to water flower and things of that sort, the waste from sewer. But that project didn't come to fruition because I think Kenny Anthony had other plans against the plan that they had with Royal Caribbean International. I'm sure you all remember that. It was all about the whole question of the port redevelopment of the port castries and so on. And then the Vendors Act was to move from where it is there into where the fire station, police station / police station was now. That's where they are going to put the vendors who are on Jabata Street on a temporary basis there, to bring in the project that I think is already been financed by the former administration into there. So don't be vexed when the present administration thinking that they almost have nothing to do, they have no plans, no nothing, because everything they're putting in place is something that was established by the former administration. So they are angry about that, and you can't. Sometimes you mustn't be too perturbed by how they think, because if they think they are not, they don't have a vision, they have a plan to do nothing. And irrespective to what you want to think about Alan Chastney, that he wasn't that in terms of a number of activities so much, but the little that he did is better than what these guys are doing here now. And that's really a shame for St. Lucia, to put a new government in power that doesn't have plans to supersede the government that we took out of office. It's not a nice thing, I lie. Somebody say I'm using my words in the right way and very carefully. Thank you very much for that. I don't know. if that's the way to go, maybe you need to be very careful about what you say. I don't want to be sued. I don't have money to be people to sue me, and these kind of things. So what's that? Someone say, I'm watching it, and I'm happy you're watching me. I'm happy about that. And I want a lot of you to keep watching the show, keep talking about the show, to keep viewing us here. And something, that button, the share button. Don't forget to continue sharing that button, the share button. Share it to your friends out there. And continue viewing us. We like the viewers. I like to know my viewers are high. Last week, in a matter of minutes, my view was very high. Yet the show didn't last long. The show was just about 8 minutes, and then it came off Facebook and it was on radio. Gilead, are you listening, Gilead? You have a habit of saying you are listening. I wonder if you're listening. And to all my friends who are listening to me tonight, I want to say to you, hats off for listening to the show on radio. I know some friends that are saying that. I'm not calling their names, and I want to be fair. Sometimes I'm not really very good at trying to remember to call names. Sometimes I write it down somewhere and I forget where I put it down, and I'm not so good at trying to call your name. Ma tellement bon sur ça, avec ces jours, moi vle couiller non, à dans des autres qui a couiller moi, autres qui a chiller, autres qui dit moi ça, autres qui a couiller, autres qui a coûter moi, mais ma cabaye sur ton t-shirt. Mais vous savez pareil, tout le monde sur tout un short au soir là. Bonsoir les frères et les sœurs, vous avez tout qui a coûté moi ici au soir, à se parler franchement, moi vle dire autres, moi apprécier ça en pile. Avec chose ça, c'est un show, c'est pas un show les bas, c'est pas un show flambeau, c'est un show parler franchement. Parler franchement ici là. Là nous parler franchement. Là les monde qui comprendre manière nous parler bagaille, manière nous mettre bagaille, et manière nous garder bagaille. Mais ces jours un chaque monde qui dit moi bagaille mauvais en pays. Puis bagaille qui monter, puis marchandise qui monter, puis y a pas qu'à descendre. Malgré nous attendre côté, puis pétrole et l'autre marchandises et l'autre bagaille qui descend international, mais c'est ici you can wait in them go out there. The point I want to make is that they're saying the price of crude oil on the international market per barrel is going down. It's gone down up to the time when it was probably in the 80s and in the 90s. But under the Philip K administration, it's not going down. In St. Vincent and in Grenada, the prices of petroleum products have gone down $5 to $7 less than what we are selling our products here. Philip JPS seems to be not be using the pass-through mechanism anymore. That because the same pass-through mechanism, pass-through system is in Grenada and the other islands of the Caribbean. But in St. Lucia, it doesn't seem to be working. In fact, he was bringing down the 100-pound cylinder. He was bringing it down. Now he decided to bring it up, but he's leaving the other cylinders, the 22 pounds and the 20 pounds at the same level, and kerosene sometimes you bring it up, and diesel it remained the same way. But the point is these prices are going down on the international market, so he's not using the pass-through mechanism. He's just using his own gut feelings, and what I'm saying is that he seems to be doing something where it's not nice, because he just just telling us that how much money he's subsidizing the 20 pound and the 22 pounds. I mean, this is hogwash, because to tell you the truth, the money that you are subsidizing these things at, Philip, is our money. It's not yours. So if you're giving the people cushion from the tax, the monies that they are paying taxes on, and the $1.50 that was put on the gas by the Shastny administration to fix roads, you have not taken this thing out. So this thing is coming through all the time. You try to fool people, Ernest Hilaire, about lockbox and all these things there. As if you want to make people believe there is some kind of box in reality. There's a box somewhere, and you have to get a key to open the box, and when you open it, there is no money there. I mean, Hilaire, could you imagine a guy like you on TV looking at people in their face, in straight face, and telling them these things as if people are stupid in this country. I just want to say that. Because there is no such thing like there is anything like a lockbox. It's probably proverbial, or maybe, you're just trying to say there is some kind of, and there was nothing like that for that particular project. That particular program of the $1 or that particular implementation of the $1.50 on the gas to fix roads was not in no lockbox. What I understood was in a lockbox was the money that I think when Stephenson King was there, I think that was the money where they was paying some $35 for airport tax. And so I thought that was, I understood that was what was in a lockbox. But Hila is saying that he found the key. Hila, could you tell us where you found the key? I mean, just tell us where you found the key. Where you found that key? That you opened the lockbox and you didn't get any money there. And the other thing is, the whole thing about Alan Chastney. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I'm not there to defend Alan or anything of that sort. I find it absurd that if I say to someone in Parliament that you got a 3-day visa and I hope you enjoy your 3-day visa and so on and so forth, and then that becomes something so embarrassing that you need to take the person to a privilege committee to answer to saying that. I've already said that I thought Richard Frederick should have just been the bigger man. To me, if it was me, just take out a picture of his visa and say, Alan, you lie because, take out a picture and show, but look at how you lie because I have a 5 or 10-year visa and put it on TV. Put it on, can I help you? But up to now, he has not done that. I have said that I'm going to take out a picture of my visa, that I think I probably have 5 or 6 more years on it, and put it on this show one of these days, just to say, well, this is the amount of days or amount of months or amount of weeks I still have on my visa. That maybe someone else could do the same. Because I can't see why this is so offensive that the Speaker of the House think that is something that you could bring up as something to bring a charge against someone and to have 15 people adjudicating against an individual for such. And they didn't even attack it much in Parliament, apart from Richard Frederick mentioning it and saying that he will ask the Speaker about it. But the one with Healy, wait, I think about the joint account that was, they said that he had with Jufali. But let's be fair. Kenny Anthony said that the question of the clinic, the diabetic clinic, everything in terms of the finance was already in place for that. Something Kenny Anthony has not been able to talk about up to this present moment. My mouth would be dry, so. But Kenny Anthony, they have a number of things you are not talking about. All you're talking about is how they're not keeping Black Heart, football in Vieux-Fort and all these things. But why don't you talk about the diabetic clinic that Jufali had paid for in full? And now Chastney is accusing Healy of having a joint account with Jufali, and he's now brought to the privilege committee to answer to these charges. And you have 15 people that are the haters of Chastney. And as I said, I am not Chastney's attorney. But when guys are the haters of someone, should you think that they should be the people adjudicating the judge, jury, and executioner in a case like that? Do you think the 15 guys who are there, including the Speaker of the House, who have proven that he have bazooka and he have this and he have that, and he has proven to be a hater of Alan Chastney, like every one of them in the House there, who used to have a thing about Chastney called Madi Pwete, and yet still every Tuesday they still go in the House and borrow $350 million, which is about 130 million US dollars. More money than we have borrowed, or we were about to borrow from the Exim Bank of Taiwan to do the airport. And Taiwan is our friend. How we so much we want to abandon Taiwan? And there are rumors, I don't know if that's true, I wonder, somebody could tell me if that's true, that they're willing to go with China to get the money to, you know, to borrow or to go into a PPP or whatever you call it with China to do the airport and all of that. I'm not sure if that's true. I'm hearing these rumors, but the point I'm making is that the Taiwanese are our friends. They're always giving us money for this, for that. We're willing to help us with all kind of things dealing with agriculture and other things of that sort. Why we refuse to work with them, with the Exim Bank, you know, with the thing, 5 years moratorium without interest. 5 years moratorium without interest, $100 million, with the rest of the 15 years to pay, which is going to be our local national asset that will still be in our hands, instead of putting in the hands of foreigners who probably will make millions on us and will be at their mercy if they want to give us a little million there and a little $500,000 there or $2 million there. I don't know. I'm not the brightest guy on earth. I probably might know if that's true or not, but you all could easily tell me. Somebody so true, a bunch of jokers, they don't like democracy, they want to take away our rights. Yeah. Good night, Ipa. Always watching you. Thank you very much for watching me. I appreciate that very much. Night, great program. You consider it a great program. I appreciate that very much too. I appreciate it. You're using your words, you know, in the right way. I don't know. Are you saying that I'm so educated? I'm calling like that. You say I'm using words in the right way and careful way. Well, that's it, you know. Thank you very much for that. I have no intention to speak words that is going to put me in any kind of trouble whatsoever. I'm a man of straw, so to speak, and I'm not in the position to be able to pay monies to people or monies I don't have. Basically, I want to say now that I enjoyed the time I spent with you guys tonight, you people out there, you in Radio Land also, who are on Facebook and you know, Caribbean Hits FM /Facebook. I appreciate the time I spent with you tonight. I'm looking forward to next Tuesday. I'm hoping that we will not have that high kind of homicide level that we have been having, you know, just the endless killing, endless guns in society. And then we have shows that are allowed in the country, and the shows have people, you know, brandishing, you know, automatic and very sophisticated weapons on stage, you know, at a concert of a guy named Skilly Bang and so on, and other people, and you know, it's frightening, really frightening, for things that are happening in our little country called St. Lucia, and so many criminal activities, and especially murders and homicide in St. Lucia. It's heart-wrenching. The people are dying, and even if you think you don't know them or they're not related to you, but you know somebody. Imagine the guy who was killed in Forest here. I didn't believe I know him, but when they told me things, I just believe I knew his mom, who was working at Nemo, a resigned person from Nemo or something like that. So, you know, what I'm saying is, you know, the people that get involved in the kind of criminal activity we have in the country, we all are so interrelated, we are so closely related to each other, And it's sad that we, of a small country, have such a high rate of homicide. And we probably have, I was speaking to a friend of mine yesterday or the day before, and he was saying to me, we probably have the highest rate of homicide per 100,000 in the world. If we have 40 homicide per 100,000, we probably more. We probably worse. You know why it's more? Because we are inflating our population rate. We are saying that we are 180,000, and that's not true. Now, when they come out with the census, if they come out and prove me wrong, I'm going to apologize to all of you out there. I'm sorry, I'm serious about that. I'm going to apologize to every one of you out there. But I don't believe we have any population that's 180,000. I think we're inflating it. And because of that, that's why maybe the statistics are not showing that we are the most dangerous country in terms of per 100,000 homicides in the world. We're just saying last year in 2021, St. Lucia, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago was the highest homicide rate per 100,000 in the world, especially the Caribbean. Well, a friend told me it's in the world, so I don't know. They say it's been a while since St. Lucia has the highest homicide level in the world or in the Caribbean. St. Lucia have been going from 30, 40, 60 and climbing to 74 last year. And look, we are in 54 already this year. And the year is not ended. We still have 2 months plus to go in this year. So my brothers and sisters, thanks very much for listening. Thanks very much for seeing me here and watching me. And I appreciate you very much. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. This was Palay Fwanchman with your host, Ras Ipa Isaac.